The views, comments, and opinions of the following program do not necessarily reflect those of Morris Media Studios, MorrisMediaLive.com, or its affiliates. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Health from the Inside Out. I am your host for today. I'm Dr. Cutter, surgical oncologist of Curatology Surgical Oncology. In the studio, I have with me Daryl D. Nice, and he will be with you in a second. But I want to start off by talking about, some important topics, and actually it's something I'm going to call trigger points, okay? So our trigger point for today is something that has really been troubling, I would say, over the past maybe 1 to 5 years, okay? Something that's been happening in this country, and that is hate. Hate in the form of crimes against people based on either their ethnicity or their religious convictions. And, I've been thinking about that because there's been some incidents recently, in Georgia and some other places, people getting shot and killed and attacked, stabbed, and all of these things. And of course, all the unrest that we've had over the past few years. And what do we have in common with all of that? One is hate, but I think hate is the outward representation of fear. Whether it's fear of the unknown, okay, fear of what's going to happen with self in the face of this unknown, or whether it's fear of true self, right, in reflection of what we see in these differences outside of us. It's odd to me that we have all of these circumstances in this country. This is a country of immigrants. If you think about, how this country really began, there was a set of indigenous people, and basically there were a group of people that came from Europe who were indentured servants. They were religious refugees, and some of them were even criminals. And they came here and started a country. And then more immigrants kept coming from different places and locations. I just feel like once we all arrive here, we're all Americans, and making these distinctions and saying that, you need to go back to your country and go back to your country. Some of us came here without our consent, right? So where does one go back to when we don't even know where we've come from? So I'm hoping that, just talking about this just a little bit at the top of the show will kind of help to refocus everyone on acceptance. We don't have to be the same. I know a lot of people talking about assimilation, and they talk about, people being the same and we're all the same. I don't think we are. I think we are all different. And isn't that the beauty of America, is that we welcome differences, and we actually have been thriving on differences. If you look at our economy, at our education system, our military, business, all of these areas, we have really made a lot of strides because we've had all of this wonderful variety. So I wanted to talk about these topics just from the standpoint of what we do have in common and what we all bring to the table versus what we are against. We are for love and peace. We are for advancement and for acceptance of differences. So important. And so, just in the spirit of that kind of healthier outlook and aspect, one thing I learned when I moved to California is there's so many different ways of thinking about health, healthy attitudes, healthy mindsets, and things like that. And I'm just really excited because our producer here, D. Nice, who's actually joining us here at the table, welcome.
Thank you. Always a pleasure to
hang
get my
out a
feet,
little bit.
get my feet wet because it's so easy for me to sit back and watch the flow
Yeah, he
and
likes to
enjoy it.
hang out on the other side of things,
Yeah,
but now
yeah.
the lights, bright lights, big city right in his face. So he can't hide on us today. So we've got D Nice here at the table working with us, and we have some people on Zoom who are going to come in and chat with us. But I'm really excited about Dr. Eve. I
Yeah.
want you to talk about her a little bit because you know her very well. You've been working with her, and why don't you give her a big welcome and give us an overview as to what she does.
Well, you'd need volumes, what I'm saying, and hours to talk about what our two guests have been involved with since I first met them. A lot of people remember back in the day when Jackie Stevens was here as a part of the Women's Health Forum at KJLH. And the panel was there. I was always doing the videotaping, and I saw the panel there. And Zinja was one of the hosts. I know Dave was one of the hosts, and it was just really a great set. Women were there. They were excited. They were getting all this good information. So I'm taking these copious notes while I'm trying to do the videotape. And so afterwards, I was like, okay, I got to go up there and, catch up with one of these doctors and find out what's going on and
So
get a
you're
little.
working and connecting
Yeah,
all
man.
at the
Yes,
same time.
indeed.
You're working
Because
it
I work
out.
with women, so I got to direct them to the right spots.
All right.
So at the time I met Dr. Eve, she was like very, she was very astute with her knowledge and just very, she delivered it. And I'm like, people were just like spellbound by that panel. And I said, you know what? I'm just working with some women and doing a little show, whatever. And I'd like to see if, I can get you involved in, coming down and seeing the show. We were doing a
Right.
television show in West Hollywood. So she came down and accommodated me. And when I heard some of the things she was doing, and it was like astronomical. And that's been like, man, over. I don't want to even say it. She'll tell you. But I'm talking about
I know, because now we're getting
years.
toward age, okay?
Yeah.
So we don't want to, tip
Years.
the T on
Yeah,
age.
yeah, that's about as bad as our girl here, my lady Vol, the poetess. I mean, way back when we met,
So
man.
10 years ago is way back when,
Okay.
okay? Because she's 20.
Okay, yeah.
20, beautiful and vivacious. So,
Yeah.
so I want to see, Dr. Eve, are you with us on Zoom?
There she is. There she be.
There she is, all full of smiles, and she's got her. Oh, that's my favorite color, the green. I love it. That's life. That's energy. That's money. That's everything. Is that your favorite color, Dr. Eve?
Oh,
Unmute yourself, my dear. We really want to hear you. Get off that mute. Don't be shy.
All right.
There
Yeah,
we go. We can hear you now.
greetings.
Welcome.
I'm happy to be here with you. And to answer your question, I love all colors.
Oh,
The spectrum of light is so divine, and just each one of those rays of colors bring just so much energy and light, and all colors I
okay.
love.
So you're like tingling my scientific senses. You start talking about light and all colors, and we can get off into the prisms and spectrums and things like that. But that's going to distract us from all of your talents and skills. So, Dr. Eve, I found your bio interesting. She's got a fantastic website. What is your website, Dr. Eve?
dreve.com. You spell it out, DOCTOREVE.com.
There you go. So dreve.com. And, she has all kinds of things on there. There's a lot of the healing arts is what I'm going to call it. Some people like to frame some of those things as alternative medicine. And I don't know if alternative medicine is really the right, is that a misnomer or not? What do you think, Dr. Eve? Is that a misnomer, alternative medicine?
I think it's a misnomer. When you say alternative, it means that it's something that is new and different to what mainstream is. But in actuality, modern medicine really should be called allopathic medicine, and it is. And what we do is the traditional
Right.
medicine, traditional natural medicine that has been around for ages. What we do is nothing new. This is the medicine that our ancestors and the ancient ones have been doing for many, many thousands and thousands of years. And what we do is just kind of bring back, we're revitalizing and helping people to remember. They resonate so deeply with it because it is there somewhere in their memory banks, just lying slightly dormant. So we kind of brush off the dust and help it to bubble up so they can remember.
Yeah, and we talk about that a lot with DNA. I mean, we can inherit mindsets, we can inherit energies, we can inherit fears. All of that stuff kind of comes with us. But epigenetics is really the field where you can use your environment and things that you apply to everyday life to kind of shift the expression of your DNA. So the DNA doesn't have to completely express as written, and it doesn't have to express in its entirety. So different things can bring to bear on that. And I think alternative medicine, or this traditional medicine, is really the origin of how we can kind of refresh ourselves. Dr. Eve is 100% right. If you think about ancient civilizations, and join me in this discussion, Dr. Eve, if you think about ancient civilizations, I mean, my favorite to talk about is Egypt. I know that there's others, but I really like talking about that because we have so much documentation on the medicine, the herbs, the remedies, and the things that they used. I mean, they were doing surgery years ago in ancient Egypt, and what we have documented about that society talks about their ancient history. So think about that. We've got ancient history on an ancient culture. What do you say about some of that, Dr. Eve?
All of the ancient wisdom is it never went away. It was kind of buried. It was hidden, and it was held back for select few. And now, in this age and time, this is now the information age, and all things that have been hidden shall now come back and be revealed. It's as simple as that.
Do you think that things like The Secret was an opening, or what do you think were some of the openings that brought this type of, traditional medicine and traditional healing back to the forefront?
Well, for some people, it never died. For some, I know for like mainstream, it did. It was kind of what I practice actually is more like quantum energy medicine.
Okay.
And that's really the medicine of the ancients. And so there was a period of time where this is all there was.
Right.
This is what helped heal, and people had longevity and beautiful, healthy lives. And then things shifted and changed early in the late 1800s, early 1900s. Things started shifting and changing. And so it's everything is in divine order. Right. Is the bottom line. So everything is shifting and changing and integrating, and I like to think it's all for our highest best good.
So true and so right, and that is right in line with the philosophy of this type of traditional medicine, right? Balance, right? Being in sync with yourself and in sync with what's around you. When you're in sync with yourself, it's easy to relate, right? It's easy to work and function. I mean, to love and all of those things. Would you agree, D. Nice?
Yeah, as I look back over the ancient times and some of the treasures that they tried to bring to us as far as the tours on these museums and things. And you look at how well defined these mummies and the artifacts have been able.
Amazing.
They even found out too long ago, I think they were somewhere digging, evacuating somewhere, and they found like a hot dog or outdoor vendor stand or something like that, had a chicken pan. And it was like, these things escape our imagination until we see it in front of us. We think that we started everything.
Right.
It's all about what we're doing or whatever, but the embalming techniques, the beauty secrets, everything there, the stones and everything, and understanding, which in the quantum aspect of it, like Dr. E pointed out, these things were way before we even could imagine such a thing happening outside of what we're looking at now as health. And the medications for I don't believe they had as many or have that many outside of their herbs and roots and whatever.
Right.
I don't think they had any of those kind of medications. You know what I'm saying? So
I don't think so
I'm just
either.
saying. So how do we get to be where we're at now, and everything is living on medication? I mean,
It's
we're
a
missing
business.
something.
It's a business.
Yeah.
And our food supply is different, right?
Yeah.
And don't get me started on the food supply. We'll bring in Siobhan. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But I feel like our food supply is different. That's how we got into these differences. But I don't want to go too far into this topic before we talk to Dr. Eve about her background.
Yeah.
I feel like there's always somebody out there who's saying, hey, I'm really kind of fascinated by this and I'd love to do this one day. How would I prepare myself? Dr. Eve, How did you prepare yourself to start practicing in this area?
Well, I've always been a healer. It's in my ancestry. My mother's mother, my grandmother, was a wife in the neighborhood, and and my grandmother on my father's side, she was a medicine woman. I'm half Native American, and so it's really naturally within me. And they say it skips every other generation. And so I have it very, very strongly, always did. So I was born a healer, a natural healer. And I ended up working, I was going to go to medical school. I was accepted to go to medical school.
Ooh,
and
good.
I ended up not going because I did an internship my senior year and realized I can't stand the sight of blood. And my mind is wired to like to inflict pain on other people. I could push a needle in a doll all day long, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
But when it came into pushing a needle into a human, the needle just sat there and I couldn't puncture the skin, no matter how hard I tried. But anyway, I ended up in the pharmaceutical industry.
Oh.
And so I worked there and received, trained in almost every area there was in medicine. So I am a cardiovascular specialist. I'm also an endocrinology. We also from ophthalmology and musculoskeletal diseases and things like that. So pulmonology. So my Western medical training actually was a good format for learning, and then just the natural innate inheritance from my grandmothers helped to really blend it all together. And so while I was being guided and taught and shown through allopathic medicine via the pharmaceutical industry, and where we were in teaching hospitals and medical schools, and we were training specialists on how to diagnose and treat by using a pill for every ill. So I transitioned the entire time I was there. I never forgot the teaching and what I learned growing up from my grandmother. And there was a pull, a very divine, strong energy that pulled me into the place where I was supposed to be, and that was in more of the natural alternative modalities, using herbals. My grandmother was an herbalist, and she healed everybody. They knew if they were in trouble, you know where to go. And so she did a beautiful job healing so many people, and I always said I wanted to be just like my grandmother. And so I was in the pharmaceutical industry for 22 years. And I transitioned out of that into the natural medicine. When God felt it was the right time, there was just this big divine push right in the center of my back that compelled me at the right time to make that move. And so that's what I did. And so from there, I continued. I started really going very, very deep. I've been studying natural medicine and all the different modalities, from the sound therapy and the color therapy and the effect that the essential oils have on your senses, all of the different natural modalities, of course, nutrition, everything. And so I'm still studying. I was in class this morning. So it's just, that's what we do. And we want to be the best at what we do. And there's so much information and knowledge out there to be applied.
That's fantastic.
So that's how I kind of fell into it, Dr. Cutter.
So did you feel any conflict when you were in the pharmaceutical industry? Did you feel like, well, these things are synthetic or what have you? Or were you feeling like, okay, I can see the origin of the natural medicine in these pharmaceuticals? What were you feeling in that field?
I never really, I realized that I was working, I was being paid to deliver a message, which I delivered, and I was very good at it. And I just never forgot what my grandmother taught me.
Okay.
I never forgot the results. And I started realizing that, you know, some of this stuff, you know, people want to get better, and it shouldn't take, you know, forever and ever to get better. So that's when I just never forgot. And so when, like I said, I was divinely pulled and guided to my place for my purpose, for what I came here to do.
Right, right.
Right.
So tell me this, you know, let's say that somebody has, you know, an illness, you know, let's pick a popular one, diabetes, okay? We know what some of the treatments are for things like diabetes. People are on a bunch of medications. Some people are on insulin. They can't eat this. They should eat that. You know, is that somebody that you can approach? And if so, what's your approach to a person like that?
When you say approach, that means would someone present to me with that type of malady?
So when I say approach, I mean, you know, is that somebody that you can say, hey, look, I have some interventions for you, and this is what I recommend? Or would you say, look, this is not really what I do. I'm going to send you off to somebody else. Is that somebody you would begin to take care of or assist?
Well, what I do is, honestly, is I look at the individual and their lifestyle, what they're doing, what they're eating, what they're thinking, because there is no separation from, you know, your well-being and what you're thinking, how your mind is functioning, the levels of stress, the discipline or lack thereof of discipline. So we know fully that we cannot tell someone to not do what their medical doctor has instructed them to do. So it's their body, and they have a choice and they get to choose. What we do is really look at trying to assist them nutritionally and to help them with lifestyle behavior modifications. And so when you tweak and refine what they're presently doing, and you put them on a path, a really healthier, higher path, because a lot of it, sometimes people just need someone to really talk to them, eye to eye, heart to heart, soul to soul, and they get it. Whereas if you have someone that you're talking about your problem, you got, say, diabetes or something like that, and you're looking for your doctor but they don't have but 3-4 minutes. They're not vested in your outcome. You can't be. You have to know and listen to what's going on in their lives. And so that's the little difference there.
Okay, so I'm hearing, you know, lifestyle modifications, you know, I'm hearing, you know, personal, you know, interaction so that people can open up and things like that. You know,
Yeah.
what do you find is, you know, a commonality in some people that you work with? Is it really people who are having problems in their lives and they're kind of, it's manifesting as these illnesses? Or are you seeing that there are things about, you know, their habits or what they're eating that they didn't know about, and so they're making mistakes like that? Is it a combination? You know, what are you finding as some of the things that, you know, that is common amongst, you know, a certain group of individuals? So whether it's people with a certain disease or just a societal thing that you're noticing.
That one right on the head. It's a combination of things. It's always a combination. And so what we know is that for every physical disharmony that someone is experiencing.
Oh, can you turn the volume down on your computer a little bit? We're having some feedback here in the studio.
Okay.
Because
All
we
right.
want to hear every single important word that you have to tell us. So let's hear that again.
Okay. I said what I said. Is that better?
Yeah, it's better.
Sound
Thank
quality
you.
better?
Yes, better. Thank you.
I said that for every physical manifestation that someone has in their body, there's also a mental equivalent that goes along with it.
That's nice. That's a good one.
So what you're really trying to do is uncover what that mental equivalent is. Because once you can really pinpoint and help someone to pinpoint what they're really feeling, what they're really thinking, and they understand. Have you heard of the work of Dr. Louise Hay?
Yes.
Yes, and her work, that's a really good foundational type of thing, because we know that wherever, say for instance, someone that's having chronic low back pain, that they may have had an injury long time ago and had recovered, gotten past it, but it could flare up again.
Mm-hmm.
And we scientifically, know that usually when someone is having low back pain, when it flares up, it's usually because they are worried in some way about their finances. And so some people think, well, I couldn't be worried about my finances because, I'm not thinking I've got more than enough money. Well, you have to dig a little deeper. And what you find out is, well, he's going through a divorce and he's actually very concerned about his finances because he's going to have to give half of his money to his wife.
God willing, right? God willing.
Once you can put those things together, then you find out that, oh, that's it. Now I know. And the pain oftentimes will miraculously just disappear. Because once you can identify it, then you can label it and put it away.
Okay. I hear that. And, uncovering the what's underneath, what lies underneath is very important. And so I'm thinking about this and I'm thinking about, just your everyday person who is trying to, get to some alternative medicine. There's a lot of, of course, you guys know my field is cancer. So there's a lot of cancer centers that have what they call alternative medicine, comprehensive medicine, that type of thing. And so those are offerings that they have for cancer patients to deal with pain, nausea, vomiting, even that help to enhance some of the treatments that they're getting to take care of their cancers. So some of these things are actually sometimes covered by insurance, and we have an insurance expert that we talk to from time to time, and I'm wondering if he's with us today. David, are you around and you can talk with us about some of the insurance issues with alternative medicine? Are you there?
Hi, Dr. Carter. Yes, I'm here.
How's it going?
Pretty good. How's everything going with you?
I'm feeling good. I'm doing well, and I'm delighted to be in the studio here with D Nice, right? When you're with D Nice, it's all right, okay? Everything is all right.
That's right.
Okay. So, I don't know what the situation is with the insurance that you work with and things like that, but can you give us some insights on how people can take advantage of alternative medicine and have that covered under their insurance? Do you have any insights on that?
Yeah, sure. So typically in most health insurance, and this involves whether you're eligible for Medicare for 65 plus, or people either through Cover California or through their workplace, the general trend is that they have coverage for things like acupuncture and chiropractic. Now, some plans that's built in. Otherwise, there could be an option to add that additional benefits. But from my perspective, that and plus, I suppose you could use fitness benefit, because some you can go to like yoga, Pilates, that sort of studio classes that you can attend. Mostly those are on the Medicare Advantage sides. So a lot of seniors can take advantage of that, because especially here in Los Angeles County, that's something that's an added benefit to their Medicare plans. So, but as far as the extent of alternative medicine, like you mentioned, that's pretty much the extent of it from what I understand right now.
But I think that's a pretty good compliment. I mean, there's acupuncture, there's, chiropractic, you can also, like you mentioned, the studio classes. I think all of those really kind of combine together for health and well-being, right? Because it brings everyone closer to their center. So I'm really glad that you kind of expanded on some of those things. And, I'm wondering, based on your experience, I know you work with a lot of different clients and people from different walks of life. Are you seeing that people really take advantage of that component of their healthcare insurance, or do you feel like that's an area where people really just kind of let that go and they focus on some of these other things? What are you seeing in terms of trends?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because And insurance carriers, they're into analytics and the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So they can kind of tell you, and every year, even and this is probably before COVID, where we had the annual meetings to determine what the percentage of utilization is on all these extra benefits. For example, like the fitness memberships. And these are mostly in the big box gyms, like LA Fitness, 24-hour Fitness,
Right.
Gold's Gym, etc. So now, obviously, it costs the insurance money to have these benefits included in their plan. And most of these are, by the way, still Medicare Advantage plans, so people who are eligible for Medicare.
Okay.
And so what's interesting to me, though, is that a lot of my clients who ask about it, so they're really interested in having that gym benefit. But it seems to me that the real numbers, according to the insurance carriers, it's a very low utilization for the most part. I would say under 5%.
Wow, that's a big
Wow.
deal. And you think
Yeah.
about it, these kinds of benefits are what people need for preventive care. Am I right, D Nice?
That's
I mean,
true.
this is the kind of thing that, really kind of saves your life and makes you more comfortable. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially as you get older.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You
Which none of
naturally
us are
lose
getting older
well,
here,
no, well,
but
Yeah, but you lose a lot of elasticity, you lose a
Yeah.
lot of your protein and other things just naturally.
Yeah.
And so they should be able to have some way to be able to compensate the loss
Right.
and not have to. Man, it's bad enough that you've got to worry about the grandkids, now the pandemic, and
Right.
being, and now you're saddled with, do I get coverage for this? Can I go walking and feel that I can do it on my own with strength exercises would help them? Can I afford that? And stuff like that. They don't need to be worrying about that stuff at this point in life,
Right.
at this time.
And they should take advantage of it. So, David, could you please give us your contact information for those people who really need to know some more information on how they can access this component of their health coverage? Because really, this saves everybody money and time and everything in the long run. How do they get in contact with you, David?
Yeah, absolutely. So I can be reached at my direct phone number, which is 310-995-7186. No extension. Again, it's 310-995-7186. And I'm based here in the South Bay area,
Okay.
like, for example, Torrance. And I also work in the community, especially at retail kiosks. There's a particular Walmart on Hawthorne Boulevard, just across the street from the Del Amo Mall. So I'm usually there towards the open enrollment period for Medicare health insurance and Covered California, which usually runs from October 15th through mid-December. So they're also welcome to walk in and meet me there, and I can do consultations and services.
Okay, so if all of you who are wondering about how to access your healthcare benefits in this way and get access to some of these other treatments and therapies, you've got David's contact information. If you missed it, you can just go to the Walmart by the Del Amo Mall beginning in October. Sit down, talk with him. He is very easy to talk to and very helpful and extremely knowledgeable. So, David, thanks for joining us. During this component, I'd like to bring you on to kind of give people some insights on how they can get healthier with their own coverage. Okay, thank you.
Thanks,
I
Dave.
appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. So, I really want to get back to some of the conversations we were having about health and wellness and balance and all of those things. I mean, D Nice knows this is some of my favorite topics,
Right.
and this is part of some of my spiritual development and things like that. I have to give credit to Los Angeles for bringing this out of me and showing me crystals and something. You know what? I was helping somebody once at one of those. It was a big. I don't know what you call it. It wasn't a revival, but it was a big spiritual festival of some
Right.
sort. And so at the end of it, I was helping, people tear down their booths and everything because I was part of the planning committee. Long story short, somebody gave me a giant amethyst. The giant amethyst stone, a raw one. Now, I don't know, Dr. Eve, are you familiar with that? The powers of the amethyst crystal and having that in your home. Are you familiar with that one?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's one of the quantum energy medicine modalities that we utilize is the gemstone therapy. And amethyst has a beautiful, beautiful energy to it. It's very soothing and calming. And it just really creates an ambiance of peace and relaxation wherever it is. And so if you sleep with it or put it in your bedroom, it really has a very soothing effect, and it's actually known as a sleep stone.
No, I'm glad
So
you told me
sometimes people
that.
take small pieces and hold them in their hands while they're sleeping,
Wow.
and they just get that beautiful energy from the amethyst. Yeah.
Okay, so
So
I didn't know that it was a sleep stone. I knew about the calming, the peaceful energy, and everything. And it's big. It's actually about this big, so it's a little bit too big for me to be sleeping with. And the
Unless
bed is
you
going
hit
to knock
somebody
me
with
out. It's
it.
going to hit.
Yeah.
We're going to wake up like
Right.
bludgeoned or something like that. But I used to have it in my bedroom in my old place, and then I moved to be closer to some hospitals. So now it's in the living room. So I'm going to bring that on back and put that in the bedroom and get some more peaceful sleep. And
yes.
one thing I've been noticing is I've been staying up later, and I think this is really, the pandemic related. I stay up a little bit later, and I've been snacking at night and things like that, which is no good, right? And when I stopped doing that, my weight kind of got under control. So I'm going to give you guys that as a tip. But we're really lucky that we have a nutrition expert who's also into quantum physics, so kind of similar in a way and complementary to what we heard from Dr. Eve. So we have with us Miss Siobhan. So I want her to come on and talk with us a little bit about who she is and what she does. Siobhan, are you going to introduce yourself and tell us what's going on with you?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Of
Yes.
course. How are you?
I'm blessed. Thank you for asking.
That's good. That's good. Welcome, welcome. So, Siobhan, what's your background? What did you do in order to prepare yourself to work in this area?
I was actually raised in this entire field. My grandfather was an orthopedic surgeon. My mother is a doctor. She has her PhD in holistic nutrition. She's a physician assistant, and she has her NP. I've been working in clinics since I was a very small child. I remember sitting on my grandfather's lap while he wrote charts.
Oh, wow.
So the understanding of food has always been a large part of me, the holistic aspect of how you approach health. My background is in nutrition. I have my master's degree in clinical nutrition. I've practiced clinical nutrition for 15 years. For the last 6 years, I've really went down the rabbit hole of physics. I really did, because as you start to really explore nutrition, you realize you start operating out of your own biases. And my bias was that food kind of governed a lot of the pre-existing conditions that we saw, but that wasn't the case, because once dietary habits have been corrected, they still didn't have the reversal or didn't have the outcome we were looking for. So I wanted to know why. I always wanted to know why. And I realized that, in my opinion, biology is not the fundamental science that physics is. Physics is like the beginning of the story, and biology is after the story has happened.
Okay,
Um,
wait a minute. That's like one of those quotable phrases.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, physics is the beginning. Okay, and biology is after physics, right? That's what Sheldon Cooper tells us that too when we watch Big Bang Theory, right? Where he's always talking about experimental physics. Are there any nerds in the house? Am I the only one? Okay, maybe so. So that's one of
I
my
am, but I'm
favorite
not
shows.
big in television. So I'm more or less that person that has a research article in her hand. I do pleasure reads. Okay, I do have some pleasure reads, but I spend a large amount of my time reading research articles. I'm always somewhere in somebody's database. I also like to pick up a lot of books. I like to see other people's theories. I like to read their theories. I like to compare it to the research. I like to look through the anecdotal studies to see how that all comes together in the clinical setting, because we know a lot of times it's operating out of theory. Yeah, I'm a little
So
nerdy.
okay, so let it be said that I've been corrected by Siobhan, and she's saying I watch too much TV because I like the Big Bang Theory. Okay,
Oh,
but I'm not
no, you
ashamed.
did
I
not.
I like my pop culture. Okay, I like to be able to talk about these things. It makes me relatable. I can talk to patients and stuff like that. And for God's sake, getting all these CMEs, I read so many articles and papers, I get sick of it. But I do love my material. So let me just say that. I'm kidding with you, Siobhan. I'm just
No,
joking.
my
I'm not. I
parents
know that's
restricted
not what you
TV.
were
It's just
saying.
a habit that carried out. My parents restricted
It's
TV.
beautiful. It's
Yeah,
beautiful. There's no shade, no shade. I'm just joking. But
I feel
let's really dig into this,
Yeah.
because you're right about this whole food thing. I actually am board eligible for obesity medicine. And part of the obesity medicine studies I did, they really talked a lot about all these diets and things like that and the impact. The studies really show that there's a lot of equivalence. After a certain period of years, you start with this diet, that diet, right? And you might lose a certain amount of weight, but there's a reset button in the physiology. And the reset button is, oh my gosh, I'm losing fat. Let's put it back on. And so there are some other elements at play, and they talk about, and we can do this together, Siobhan, but sleep is one of them. Stress levels, of course, activities. What else do you think goes into things like weight management and the relationship to food?
What we really look at it, we have evolved out of where we come from. It's largely due to disturbances with circadian rhythm. So that goes back to the sleep, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we know that circadian rhythm controls the genome. It controls several hormones. One of the key hormones it controls is melatonin and the relationship to cortisol, which is a stress hormone.
Yes.
Your average person that's obese or that has pre-diabetic or diabetic, you would see that there is a mismatch between melatonin and cortisol. And then you'll see some abnormalities in DHEA. But one of the greatest factors is that we are moving away from how we were created. We start to violate that circadian rhythm, that 24-hour clock. We're extending past the normal sun cycle into artificial light.
Right.
We're eating at times that we're not supposed to be eating. It's just really a total violation of that circadian rhythm. And it goes back to physics, right? Where we look at the lack of the locks of light that we're receiving. We're not reconnecting with the earth. It's just we're moving away from how we were designed and what we were created to do. And there's going to be some negative impact to that.
Right.
Whenever you start violating how creation put us together, there's always going to be an outcome to that.
Something in you said I really like, and that's, reconnecting with the earth, right? Of course, when you said that, I got this image of, people going out into the forest, taking off their shoes, putting their little toes in the dirt, putting your arms up. I know maybe that's not what you meant, but
No,
I know I'm
exactly
from
what I meant.
Ohio, so there's like forest and trees and stuff there, and it's not like I've been living there, 5 years ago. It's been like years and years, but that's my baseline. But and same thing with the desert. You can reconnect with the earth in the desert. There's all these areas. If you go to Phoenix, and they have these areas, and they're called a vortex. So you go up on top of these big, mountainous areas, and you can kind of reconnect because there's energy there. So when you talk about reconnecting with the earth, what do you mean about that? Well, how can people reconnect with the earth?
Well, first it's about magnetism, right? So the earth give off a particular energy, and this magnetism offers off electrons, and these electrons function as antioxidants. Because when we think about the electrons within our system, these electrons often are mispaired, and that's very common with modern living. But when you reconnect with the earth, you want to reconnect with the earth in so many different ways. You want to get AM sunlight. So you want to get those lower locks of light with those galvans of light in the early morning. You want to make sure that it depends. So we prescribe earthing. We definitely tell people how much they should earth, but you need to connect directly to the earth. But make sure you don't have on material that would affect you to connect with the earth, like plastic soles on your shoes. You want to be as bare as possible. You want to be as naked as possible in the elements.
So I was right. The bare feet in the forest and the dirt. So see, D-Nice was laughing at me, and I was,
No.
I had it.
No,
Exactly.
I'm listening to the concrete jungle. I'm like, where you find that out here?
He's trying to figure out what park he can go to
Yeah.
and how he could get this done. But I didn't say wear a loincloth or anything like that, so don't take it too far now. Okay, keep going.
Like for people that require a little bit more of the earth, more of that magnetic energy, then you want to get into the ocean, because the sodium is a conductor.
Nice.
And it increases that magnetic connection with the earth. So it just depends on your level of health, determining how much of the earth you need to engage.
Nice, very nice.
Wow.
Are you kind of a
because like I said, back in the day, they had when they had the different programs in school that you could get. They had one that I was interested in. It was the agricultural aspect of it, and it was land, pasture, and range. And with that one there, you would be able to identify the plants and the trees and you would be a judge. You'd have competition with other schools, whatever, and it would be a big thing.
Right.
And also soil too. You had to be able to analyze the soil and tell what's lacking the nitrogen or what the potassium is missing or
This
whatever.
is serious.
And so, yeah, it's very serious. But now we're no more looking into this. We're being able to turn over the earth, but we're not putting anything
Thing
back
in.
into it.
Right.
And so we're depriving the minerals and components that we were able to utilize, like Dr. Eve was talking about with her connection, when she does it. It's so much intertwined, this conversation we're having tonight. I'm learning a lot, guys. I appreciate you coming on, because we've gotten away from all this. Concrete jungle has just thrown a whole different trip on us, where even the park systems now, they don't really water like they're supposed to, and when they do, the fertilizer's not there. All the components are not there, but yet and still we are getting fed with these vegetables, getting fed with these beef and pork and all this stuff that's eating, what I'm saying, the grass.
Right.
That's not the
Good
nutrients or
grass,
whatever.
yeah.
So I'm just saying, what can we do during this pandemic to get back on track, seeing that we have everything against us, neutralized wise, and that's a question, Siobhan. You can help me with, Dr. Eve. You can tip into how do we cope with that lack during this pandemic?
There you go, you guys. What do you have to say, Siobhan?
I have a 2-year-old, and my 2-year-old, I've been working from home. It's a very unique experience. As it relates to soil biodiversity,
Welcome to
so we look at the
Zoom.
path of food, right? Soil biodiversity is not there, and then you get the food that's grown in this very poor quality soil.
Right.
Seeds, oftentimes that are genetically modified, coupled with this very food sits up under artificial light in the grocery store.
Right.
I mean, we're looking at just a triple fold damage to our food supply.
So do we have a little
Horticulture-
garden at every home? Everybody should have a little garden out on their terrace and in their backyard
Exactly.
and everything?
At least your greens. So you want to grow your seasoned greens. I like to grow weeds. I like to grow dandelion leaves. Dandelion leaves also function as a probiotic and a prebiotic. I'm sorry, and it's a dark leafy green. So you're going to get your folic acid, your magnesium. Magnesium sits in the center of a chlorophyll molecule. Magnesium is essential for DNA repair. It's a part of that enzyme cascade. I mean, when it comes to food and health, and when it comes to the quality of our food today, we're just seeing horrific, beyond horrific. It's horrifying what's happening with the quality of food, from the additives to the chemicals to the packaging to when it comes to fruits and vegetables, picking those before they're ripe. Ripening means not just that fruit tastes good, it means that the nutrients are ready for the body to consume them.
Right.
It's an entire cascade. But if we look at the full spectrum, food tells a very small story. It just tells a very small story. The bigger story is in that total lifestyle behavior and making sure those violations of circadian rhythm are not taking place.
So
I mean,
So how do we do that? You talk about the violations of circadian rhythm. We know that sleep is a big part of it. And somebody like me, like I know that it happens to me if I'm on call, I get called, in the middle of the night, I get called in the morning, and then, I have to try to figure out a way to reset. But, what are some of the other things just beyond like a sleeping pattern? What else can we do to, to reverse those violations? What are some of the things we can do to unviolate?
So I would biohack you. We would have to look at your own personal thunderstorm and determine how much of earthing you need when you're off, how much nutrients you need because of the uncoupling that takes place up under artificial light, especially blue light. I would definitely look at your cortisol levels, especially with the late night eating. And you mentioned that there was some late night eating and some unwanted weight. So I would definitely want to look at those cortisol levels, pair those with your melatonin. Look at a CBC lipid panel, comprehensive metabolic panel to see what the body is saying. But overall, look at your overall life and then biohack you. The biohack takes place that, okay, we live in a 24-hour society. Not everybody is going to go down with the sun like I am. And it's important that we know the impact of that and try to combat that impact on a nutrigenomic level so that we can have the genes express the way we want the genes to express. Whenever you need to be biohacked in that sense, it's essential that we get a full genomic profile on you because we need to make sure whatever genes are lacking, if you're hypermethylating in one area or hypomethylating in another area, that we want to repair those things first. For example, the hypermethylation and the vitamin D cascade. Some people need more vitamin D than others.
Right.
There are methylation issues and polymorphisms with folic acid. Some people need more folic acid than others. So we need to make sure where you are on that nutrigenomics level and make sure those repairs are being done. And then you would be, if you were just off of the information you provided to me, you would be sleeping on a magnetico. I would ensure that you have blue blockers so that we can block out as much blue light as possible. Looking at those cortisol levels, despite what time you finish, there will be no eating after a certain hour. There's been a lot of research. Dr. Sanchin Panda is one of the leaders in the research on circadian rhythm. He has a book called The Circadian Code.
Right.
And what he highlighted through his research is that you can have a very healthy meal at night and it still performs like junk food in the body.
Yeah.
Because you're violating that natural rhythm, right? Because every organ system in the body has its own off time and on time. And the digestive system should not be on at night when the brain repair, rejuvenation needs to take place.
Right. And that's one of the important things, really that we talk about in obesity medicine too, that, there's certain times of the day that the body has certain jobs and we have to really focus on, keeping the body at work, to do what it's supposed to do during those times. I love those points that you made and how you brought in, all those elements of that, not just the sleep per se, but the total lifestyle, the approach to things and the timing. I think people are going to want to talk with you further and really learn more about their habits and their life and things like that. What is the best way for people to get in contact with you, Siobhan? And what do they need to call you? I don't know what you like to be called.
Oh, Siobhan is cool. I even respond to S.
Okay. And then how do they reach you? Is it your website? Do you have a phone number? What do you prefer?
It is. So we're at capacity for clients, but I've been blessed. God has rendered down this very amazing project. And right now we're moving everything into wellness guided journals. And then from those wellness guided journals, you can be analyzed. My 2-year-old, I'm so sorry.
No, that's fine. This is the new era of work, right? Everybody is on Zoom and there's people, all over the place doing things in the background. And I think we're also used to it. We just ignore it, right? Mm-hmm. Like, okay, whatever. But what do you want people to do? Do they buy their own journal? Do they buy it off your website? How do they get started with connecting with you?
They do. They go to wellness3 and then the letter I.com.
Okay. Wellness3, the letter I.com. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
okay.
We're going to do that.
Siobhan, you really just kind of tipped the iceberg on that. You started talking about methylation and I got really excited and I wanted to go off on a tangent on that, but I realized just don't have time. We don't have the time tonight. So that's unfortunate. So thank you so much for joining us. And I just want to jump back in with Dr. Eve and make sure that Dr. Eve has given us her contact information. You gave us your website. Is there any other way that people can get in contact with you?
Sure. My number is 323-658-1152.
Okay. Are there any?
Because like I said, because you that opened up a can of worms. Like I said, the complexities here that overlap. Dr. Eve, you heard what we talk about as far as the depletion of the minerals and everything. But in your product section, I found that you have some products there that are able to help us out. You know what I'm saying? So can you talk about some of your projects on the gemstones products available?
Yes, they're definitely available, and it's always good to give us a jingle and tell us what you're actually in need of, and we can give you guidance and direction. We specialize in detoxification and we have a weight loss program, and so whatever it is that's going on, what Siobhan just said, we do very similarly things, and so we have to really need to talk to you or take an intake and put it all together, and then we can customize a program specifically for you.
Right, and even your products that you have, which are I like some of the wristbands that I saw that you had that take care of different ailments and things like that. Those are really intriguing to me.
Well, you better give me a call and let me know what you need.
Okay, appreciate it. So you gave us your website already?
DrEve.com.
Okay, once again, DrEve.com. Man, it's just been a barrage of information tonight that really just gave me a whole different way of looking at myself. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm guilty. I'm guilty of partaking into some of these late night snacks and some of these things that are not definitely healthy. And so, I'm seeing as you get older, it starts telling on you.
It really
You know,
does, but I think, we're human, right? We're not going to do everything perfectly. At least that's what my grandmother told me when I was in high school, and it broke my heart to find out I wasn't perfect. But but once I heard, I started accepting more things.
Right.
But I think the key thing is awareness. I know with me and the pandemic, my work schedule changed and all that. You get off into this late night eating or these other habits, and it's easy to kind of keep saying, well, I've already done it, so I'm just going to keep doing it, right? But what you said is really very salient. You do these things, and then you just say, you know what? Let me get in touch with what's going on here. And I think that's part of what Dr. Eve was talking about, making that connection, understanding, and we need to do that with ourselves, understand ourselves. What is going on here? Why am I eating so late? Why am I staying up? Why do I have, all this excess energy? Do I need to work out more? Is that why I'm up so late? Because I'm not tired enough? Am I eating because I'm just emotionally exhausted and this is my compensation? All of those things. So, these are things that we do and that we learn, over time. And we've got two excellent professionals that have really presented today and given us some pathways on how to get there. And we also have, David as a resource to figure out some insurance coverage, so that the cost of it is not prohibitive.
Mm-hmm.
And
No, go ahead. But like I said, I didn't want to. I'd be remiss if I didn't let people know also that sometimes you've got to just take a breather, take a break, and enjoy yourself.
Take a
and
break.
you can do that every Friday night out here at Leimert Park, where we're right around the corner, Leimert Park Village. Okay, and it's right there on the corner of 43rd.
Okay.
And where Leimert Park is, right there.
Okay, 43rd Lamar
Yes,
Park.
and it's called the Village right there, and they got a stage there that is filled every Friday night with live acts.
Nice.
And you can wear a mask. Now you got to wear a mask down there because you're
Gotta wear a
trying to save
mask.
yourself and others.
That's
and
right.
there's standing room only, so just come on down and enjoy the different sets from different artists that come on every Friday, and that's at Leimert Park Village. And
Is that
with
music?
Black Art
Is
District.
it spoken word or what is it?
It's a little of everything.
A little
you
of
know what I'm saying?
everything.
A little
So
everything. But
I
it's
like
live jazz.
It's like gumbo. It's
Live-
some gumbo or stew or something,
and
right?
art too. They got art to go to, and you know what I'm saying. Then you got Barbara's studio there, so you have a lot of. And that
There's a
little-
bookstore there too.
There
There's
is.
a very
There is.
good bookstore
Yeah, so
with
there's a
some
lot of stuff to
insightful
do.
books.
So that's what people can do.
And
Just
I've
as a
been to
walk
that.
in.
It's one.
What happened?
I've been to what he's talking about, and it is absolutely wonderful. Lots of fun, and people so talented just kind of show up and toss it out there for you to feel good. It's great. It's a
So
really
we
nice
have-
vibration.
We
8
have
to
a
11.
wonderful
Freestyle up
endorsement
there.
from
I
our
literally
own
used to
Dr.
freestyle
Eve.
up there.
8 to 11 every
Yeah,
Friday.
8
Come
to
on.
11.
You
And,
can walk on.
he's saying it's right outside here. I want you all to know we're at Morris Media Studios. And you can call in here. 323-815-4204 is the number to call in. And then you can go to morrismedialive.com if you want to reach the studio information or visit morrismediastudios.com. So that's a way to contact the studio here. But I really wanted to kind of, just circle down into where we are in the month. This is the end of March. Okay, we have one more week to the month, and
Women's History Month.
Women's History
out.
Month, right? And D Nice was telling me earlier this week that he came upon some really good information, about a hero. And, we have something that we're going to read off for you guys. I don't know if you want to do the honors and talk about her, but what's
You're
her
the
name?
woman. Mary Bethune.
That's right,
Yeah,
Mary McLeod
McLeod.
McLeod Bethune.
McLeod, okay.
And she Bethune-Cookman is named for her. Bethune-Cookman is one of the HBCUs. Those who know what that stands for, historically black colleges and universities. And so that's a collection of them distributed across the country. Not so many out here on the West Coast, more so, in the South and the East Coast and things like that. But these institutions historically were the only educational opportunity for a certain segment of the population. So now, they're still providing educational opportunities, but to a broader audience as well. And Mary McLeod Bethune was a part of that legacy. Now, unfortunately, the item I have to read to you is on my phone and it's tiny. So you guys are going to have to forgive me because I'm going to be focusing back and forth because it's small and
Do
there's
your
glare
thing.
and I've
Do
got to
your
look through
thing.
this shield because we're doing social distancing and things like that. So just bear with me. But Mary McLeod Bethune was born in 1875, and she was born in South Carolina in a city called Maysville. And she went to school at Scotia Seminary and Moody Bible Institute. So she really had her foundations in education in terms of theology. She eventually founded Bethune-Cookman College, which I mentioned already. That's down in the South, in 1904. That's when she did that. So really just about 29 years after she was born. She was 29 years old when she founded college. What were you doing at 29? Huh? Did you found a college? I know I didn't. She was president of that school until 1942. So, that's about 38 years. And then she won the Spingarn Medal in 1935. So she got a lot of awards. The Francis A. Drexel Award in 1936, the Thomas Jefferson Award in 1942, the Haitian Medal of Honor in 1949. She received several honorary degrees. She's founder and president of the National Council of Negro Women. And she also was a special advisor to, get this, President Franklin Roosevelt. And she was named Mother of the Century by Dory Miller Foundation as well in 1954. And after this very active life filled with activity, educational contributions, awards, honorary degrees, advising presidents, starting universities and things like that, she decided in 1955 she was going to go home to be with her Lord. So that is, her life kind of in a nutshell. And of course, there's so many other elements in there. There's actually Mary McLeod Bethune House in my hometown in Cincinnati. So I think that she's touched a lot of different areas, and we'll find, monuments and things like that to her and others. So, in the spirit of Women's History Month, look someone up, look someone up of a different ethnicity than you. Try to find out more of the contributions of women. I so appreciate you joining us tonight on Health from the Inside Out. I'm Dr. Cutter. I've got D Nice here, our producer in the studio, helping us out, giving us some male energy tonight.
And a shout out for CJ.
CJ,
who's
we
staying
missed
busy.
you.
Yeah, man.
And we did have David on tonight,
Yep.
so we got a little bit more male energy. So we're not completely balanced, but we need this female energy in this
Yes.
world, right? The
Yes.
energy of healing and love and peace, right?
Yes, ma'am. And get that health from the inside out.
Health from the inside out. So thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time.